The dark ostrich and her offspring. Welcome back to the Alef calendar research project. In the previous videos, we found that each creature, along with multiple details surrounding them, can be identified as apparent shapes in the Milky Way. In this video, we will continue reading the descriptions of the creatures listed in Job to determine if the apparent shapes can be located for not just a few, but all the creatures of Job. This time, we will look at the ostrich, which we will see has enough details that it seems difficult to pass off as a mere chance or coincidence. Job 39 reads, "The ostrich's wings flap joyously with the pinion and plumage of love. For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust. She forgets that a foot may crush them, or that a wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without concern, because God deprived her of wisdom, and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and its rider." Once again, these verses are in poetic pairs of matching thoughts. Unlike the list of previous creatures, these verses concerning the ostrich do not ask many questions. The Hebrew word for ostrich is renanim. The 1611 King James Bible mistranslated this word as peacock. I did look for a nebula shape that resembled a peacock and found none. Lexicons and most modern translations agree that this renanim refers to an ostrich. The ostrich that inhabited the Fertile Crescent is referred to as the Arabian ostrich, which has unfortunately been hunted to extinction. The name renanim relates to a ringing cry. In verse 13, we read, "The ostrich's wings flap joyously with a pinion and plumage of love." This poem starts out by drawing our attention to the ostrich wings. The ostrich is not able to fly with its wings. The male's wings are darker in color than the female. Both male and female ostriches do a feathered flirting dance before they mate. Once the eggs are laid, both the male and female take turns sitting on the eggs. At the end of this video, you'll find a few links to documentaries about this creature. It is not an easy task to locate a region in the Milky Way that matches all the details described in these verses. The methodology I'll employ for the narrative on the ostrich is to first create a list of descriptive phrases and nouns that might assist in locating this piece of the puzzle. Wings, an ostrich dancing. Eggs, ground and dust. Foot, a wild beast, young. Lifts herself on high, a horse and a rider. Having such a list increases the difficulty of finding a matching region. In this research project, there is a possibility that I'm so interested in finding matches that I could overlook things that do not fit. Being able to repeat this process for 10 creatures from the narrative ensures that it is not just a random coincidence. I will continue to do my best to be honest when something does not fit. Most recognizable pareidolia today is just a single face on the surface of Mars, or a single name that a scientist decided to assign to a nebulae. So, back to identifying an apparent ostrich shape. As the ostrich has a darker body, I was able to narrow this down to 2 regions, here and here. Verse 13 reads, "The ostrich's wings flap joyously with the pinion and plumage of love." The apparent image below seems to show a side profile. The one above may be depicting a pose during a dance with their partner. Verse 14 reads, "For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust." Here is a painting of an Arabian ostrich on her eggs from the Book of Animals by Al-Jahiz. This painting was done in the 14th century. Instead of building a nest that is hidden away from predators, the ostrich lays her eggs on the ground out in the open. An ostrich nest will contain many eggs. Now, in terms of apparent shapes in the nebulae, the ground and dust are seen here. Within this area, under the apparent ostrich shape, we find several bright stars that most likely represent these eggs. For the upper dark ostrich, there is a cluster of bright stars here, which may represent a nest of eggs in the sand. Verse 15 reads, "She forgets that a foot may crush them, or that a wild beast may break them." Just above the bright stars, we find a nebulae shape that resembles a foot. Wait 1 minute. In a previous video, you pointed out that this foot shape was the head of the wild donkey. Now you're saying it resembles a foot? Yes. As we continue in this research project, we will find that the apparent recognizable shapes layer over top of each other. In terms of wild beasts that break the eggs, we previously located a lion, whose dark mane is also the body of this ostrich. The next two verses read, "She treats her young harshly, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain, without concern, because God has deprived her of wisdom, and did not endow her with understanding." Female ostriches will lay their eggs in another nest in order to offload the task of incubation onto another ostrich. This bird lacks wisdom and understanding in the process of hatching and rearing its young. This appears to relate to the fact that the ostrich has a very small brain, even smaller than its own eyes. Both of these verses may refer to the eggs being away from the ostrich. Now, I was not able to locate a shape that resembles a young ostrich. The next verse reads, "When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and the rider." Back in video 47, we picked out several apparent nebulae shapes that resemble donkeys or horses. There were also apparent shapes of riders on these horses. It seems this shape matched the wild donkey. So it may be that the horse and rider the narrative is referring to are here. This is the horse whose rider appears to be holding a set of balanced scales. In regards to lifting herself on high, this dark nebula shape is above the horse, even atop most of the galactic bulge. This second one is lower, but her head is face to face with that of the horse. The speed of an ostrich rivals that of a horse, which may be why chasing an ostrich down would have been an exhilarating sport for a hunter. At the same time, a horse with a rider on it would be slower than an ostrich. Some interpret this verse as the laughing scorn that an ostrich delivers to the slower horse and its rider. Stellarium contains an interesting article under its Sky Culture tab for the Arabic lunar mansions. Now, multiple problems arise when one realizes writings of the past are describing the shapes of nebulae in the heavens. To be honest, I'm not yet sure how to address this, or even how it will be received. Yet, if the narratives have been recorded and preserved by many generations, it will be sad to leave it hidden. I have already noticed that there have been a few obvious attempts to hide or erase details when translating the narrative from Hebrew to Greek. I'll address this later once we get through the animals of Job and move on to Adam. In the next video, we will be researching what region of the night sky resembles a horse of war.